Resident Evil has always been about survival, limited resources, unexpected encounters, and a constant feeling that something is about to go wrong. In Resident Evil Requiem, that feeling is more apparent than ever. And in this video, I will be doing exactly what the series intended: survive. This platinum requires 3 full playthroughs, a full story run focusing on miscellaneous and collectible trophies, a sub 4-hour speedrun with no healing and no blood collection, and finally, insanity mode. Technically, the first playthrough could be down on casual, but on this channel, we like to make things interesting, so classic difficulty is. And before we begin, if you enjoy platinum trophy videos like this, consider leaving a like and subscribing. It genuinely helps the channel grow and encourages me to get new videos out as soon as possible. Now, let's begin. We're introduced to Grace Ashcroft, an FBI agent sent alone to investigate a hotel where her mother died. Yes, alone. And let me say, Grace is not Leon and she definitely isn't Chris. She is not the kind of character you would expect to lead a Resident Evil title. She is nervous, uncertain, and completely out of place in an environment like this. And that's exactly why this works, as the story makes you feel genuinely helpless at times. Also, the RE engine is doing absolute magic here. The lighting, shadows, and the atmosphere are unreal. The game suggests you play in first person as Grace, so I listen like a good boy. And almost immediately into the hotel, things get weird. You find a photo of yourself with a key attached to the back. As you head into the room, you get a flashback to 8 years in the past with her mother. Capcom has been appreciating MILFs lately and we are here for it. Unfortunately, she dies. She leaves something for you behind the portrait, and inspecting this triggers the first encounter with an infected. And this thing? Absolutely horrifying. Even after piercing its head with this stick, it gets back up. I had to throw him out of a window to finally get him off my back. But right after this, you meet this very disturbing man who chokes Grace out and the screen goes black. And then, hey, Leon S. Kennedy in the house. It turns out the man carrying Grace through the streets is Victor Gideon, a former Umbrella researcher. He casually infects a woman with a gun, and welcome back to Resident Evil. As Leon, you have access to the Requiem revolver, and with one shot I managed to take down 3 enemies, popping the first trophy. I also tested out Leon's new weapon, the hatchet. For parrying an attack with this, I popped untouchable. Here we learn that Leon is infected with something called Raccoon City Syndrome, which is slowly killing him. Not my boy, man. Deja vu also pops here. And now we are back to playing as Grace, who is hanging like a carcass. Naturally, since this is a video game, swinging around a little frees you. This is where classic mode begins to matter, as I find my first ink ribbon and save, popping another trophy. Now she appears, the girl. She has to be one of the scariest things to come out of this franchise, and yeah, if she catches you, instant death. But I don't know if she's blind or stupid, but I won't be complaining as I managed to sneak around her in this first section. Lights also work against her, as they will stun her and prevent her from chasing you. But nonetheless, she makes moving through certain areas feel like an absolute nightmare. As Leon, you enter the same facility where you are jumped by the infamous chainsaw. However, this time around you have the power to wield it yourself, making up for any trauma induced by Resident Evil 4. Once all the enemies here were dealt with, you can move forward and a very familiar collectible returns. Mr. Raccoons. These little figures will be hidden all around the map and you need to destroy them. Breaking the first one pops, the hunt begins. From here you circle back to the end section as Grace, where she was snatched by the girl. Leon does not mess around and puts a few bullets in her head. The two introduce themselves, but they are quickly separated as Leon runs into Victor. And ain't no way bro just blitzed Leon like that. He manages to knock out Leon in the same fashion he did Grace, who we go back to playing as. The objective now was to escape the facility, but it is never as easy as opening the front door in these games, so be prepared for quite the journey. You can enter the first safe room here and interact with the storage box. For placing an item in it, I popped another trophy. In the next room, you are introduced to Emily, who is a blind girl held captive in this mini prison. To unlock it, you will need a level 3 bracelet, but more on that later. Throughout the facility, you of course encounter a bunch of infected, including one pretty big one, the chef. Using a round from the Requiem which Leon gave you, and way too many handgun bullets, you can put him down and pop the order up trophy. This game also introduces you to a new way of getting stealth kills through the hemolytic injector, which blows enemies up. Using this for the first time pops a trophy. Another new feature is the blood collector. Throughout the game when you're playing as Grace, you will find micro samples of blood. You can now harvest them and in turn craft items with the blood. Here you can also find the machines that create the first and future recipes. For getting the first, I popped the science trophy. With the recipe I just got, I crafted my first handgun bullets for the power of blood trophy. It was now time for a pretty interesting trophy, where I had to lure 2 zombies together and throw a bottle at them to trigger one to hit the other. For doing this successfully, I popped internal dispute. After this, I acquired my first lockpick. With this, I could unlock any drawer for some more resources and for another trophy. I think the trophy is a reference to Resident Evil Outbreak, where Grace's mother was a character. As I was exploring, I got around to using 300 microsamples of blood for yet another trophy, before running into a foul-mouthed mini-boss from My 600 Pound Life. He is guarding the first level wristband which I needed to progress, so I had to kill him, which nearly took all of my ammo, but once he was down I popped Grace and Goliath. With the bracelet I was now able to work towards escaping. During this I killed 2 Singing infected who were in the way, which I had to do anyway for the deadly duet trophy. I worked my way up to the level 3 bracelet where the final puzzle required reading braille for some reason. It just so happens there's a little blind girl in the facility, so I had to backtrack and carry her here. After holding off some enemies you had all the parts to escape the facility, until the girl rose from the dead and took Emily. You run after her and jump down this dark hole, popping the Descent into Darkness trophy. Before rescuing Emily you are back to playing as Leon, who speedruns the facility. He is also back with his iconic one-liners.
When's the last time you brushed your teeth?
During his section I popped a few more trophies. First for finding a muzzle for the pistol, which when I attached I popped tailor-made. I also managed to perform 3 finishes on enemies with my hatchet for the Chop Chop trophy. During the last part of this section you're holding off enemies in this room whilst you wait for an elevator. Here I threw an axe, quite poorly, for the last trophy of this section before returning to Grace. This section is where the game goes insane. You find Emily in another cell, and to open it you have to complete this joint plug puzzle. This requires collecting all 3 joint plugs, which would have been much easier if only the girl was not on your ass the entire time. You have to use the plugs to power specific rooms in order to reach the 3rd and final joint plug to open the cell. Right before you can grab the 3rd, you have to fight off enemies whilst running from the crusher. Once you survive that, surely it was enough. No. You now have to backtrack and grab the remaining 2 plugs that you have been using, during which the girl jumped me, and I panicked a little bit, shooting a round of the Requiem into her head. This also stuns the girl momentarily, and more importantly pops a trophy. And this whole section made me realise that this might be the best Resident Evil game that I've ever played. It manages to balance the horror and tension with action in a way only Resident Evil 4 has. And I might get called crazy for this, but this game might genuinely be better than Resident Evil 4. Huh? Anyway, before people bring the pitchforks out, with the 3 plugs you can now return to the cells where you can grab Emily and run to the elevator. Not without a little interference from the girl, of course. After this, Emily gifts you with the parts she got from the puzzle and you can make your escape, popping It's Been a Long Night. Even though you are outside, you are not out of the woods yet, as you still have to leave this area filled with infected. Here you meet Harry, who offers a ride out of the area on the helicopter, except you need to find some keys first, which happen to be in the cabin right there. This of course ends up being another research facility, where you circle around to eventually finding the keys for the helicopter and snooping on Victor, who somehow does not see you but still calls in the self-destruct. You make your way out of the crumbling facility and fly away. The heli inevitably crashes and Emily is hurt. Cut to Leon, who has reached the roof, where he is keeping an eye out for the crash survivors Grace and Emily. After the sniper section you run towards them, but before you can escape together a new enemy appears holding Leon back. This whole area reminded me of the RE6 church section for those of you who have played that game. After killing the enemy you are back to Grace, who is holding a hurt Emily. This would not be a Grace section without the girl, who we have had enough of, so it was time to finally kill her. Since the only thing that seemed to work on her was light, the goal here was opening the roof. For this you had to go down and spin 3 handles, which were of course being guarded by the girl herself. Luckily the game gives you enough Requiem ammo to keep the girl stunned during this. And once you have powered the area you can go back up and open the roof, finally ending this monster. But as they say, actually I don't know if anyone says this, when a monster dies, a new one is born. As Emily seemingly dies to her injuries from the crash, she turns into an infected monster. Leon comes and puts her down, but this ends with Grace only feeling regret for bringing her along and running away from Leon, who is not doing too well, might I add. Now, when I say I nearly had the heart attack here, I mean it. When I saw the white hair and sunglasses, my eyes popped out of my skull like a cartoon and I could not believe it. Somehow this is not Albert Wesker, it's this guy called Zeno. Anyway, he is part of the connections who have been the shadow organization running things in this universe, and he explains to Grace that she is the key to unlocking the most powerful virus made, Alpus. She joins them and the game cuts once more. Leon is aware of this and decides to pursue Grace and Zeno, which takes you back to Raccoon City. I actually can't believe I just said that, as returning here felt like the least likely thing a few years back, but here we are. To start things off strong, you get a boss fight right away against this Titan spider. This is a pretty standard fight where Leon somehow manages to end things with a hatchet, what a chad. Your goal in Raccoon City is to reach the city centre, however, a gate is blocking your path forward. To get past it, you have to assemble a detonator to blow it up. Very reasonable. The parts for this detonator are scattered throughout the area. Throughout my search, I encountered a tent belonging to the BSAA, where the game introduces you to my favourite new mechanic. Replacing the merchant, you now have the bracelet, which tracks your combat and rewards credits in return. What this basically means is getting kills earns you credit. The credit you acquire can be turned in for new items and tuning up your current weapons. For purchasing my first item, I popped Retail Therapy. In this area I also got the 300 kill trophy done sooner than I thought, But I have been killing everything up until now, which explains it. In order to repair part of the detonator, I had to acquire a key which opened up a crate in the camp. More of these crates were scattered across the area, and for opening all 3, I got the Crate Expectations trophy. On my way to the final part of the detonator, I had managed to craft all items as Leon for another trophy. After grabbing the last part, you had to head back to the gate, but as always, the game loves to make it harder than it has to be. You have to power this lift down the building, which when you get on, you attract a lot of unwanted attention. The infected begin dropping on you from above, which eventually leads to you coming crashing down, somehow not dying in the process. But at the end of this section, I popped the Going Down trophy. You can now detonate the gate and take a motorcycle you found in one of the crates into the city center. And this sequence was the most Resident Evil thing ever. Victor returns and is hounding you down, quite literally, as he sends hounds who run as fast as your motorcycle after you. During all of this, Victor will fire his rocket launcher at you, where you have to shoot him to interrupt him for the road rage trophy. Leon shows no signs of being a 50-year-old man, as he rides up a building and jumps off like it's GTA. At the end, you corner Victor, who loses the gunslinger showdown, who seemingly dies in an explosion. But one thing you can never trust in a video game is an off-screen death. When the motorcycle runs out of fuel at a very convenient time, you arrive at the heart of this franchise, the Raccoon City Police Department. Boys were made into men here. As you enter, the hero return pops, making for possibly the most nostalgia-inducing moment of my life. Here you see Grace and Zeno through the CCTV. On your way to them, you can explore parts of the now destroyed building, a place I explored every part of multiple times. And now I somehow get to see it once more in a completely new light. Okay, I am talking as if this is somehow my childhood home. Thank God it's not. You also get a pretty fun Easter egg here which you can very easily miss, I think. Someone correct me if I am wrong, but Tofu, somewhat of a meme in RE2, briefly makes an appearance. You obtain the crank, which is in the exact same place you left it while solving a puzzle in RE2, and open up the east side of the building, where Grace and Zeno discuss some major lore. Alpus is said to have the ability to suppress and control minds, and that somehow Grace was the key to unlocking it. Not only that, but they have been running experiments on children, one of which was Emily. Not only that, but you also get a flashback to the orphanage from the second game, where you are playing as a little girl. Here you have to sneak around avoiding these test subjects who are creepy as fuck. This is very similar to RE2's orphanage section and ends with you being captured. This is getting really dark, man, even for a Resident Evil game. Once the cutscene ends, someone I have been waiting for returns. Mr. X returns in all his glory and his latex trench coat, except there is one big difference: this is no longer Rookie Leon. Once you escape him and head out of the RPD, he follows you to a boss fight. This time around, Leon can somehow parry an attack from an enemy who is throwing around cars. Very nice, Leon. You manage to fight off your stalker once more and pop another trophy. Past the way, you are making your way to the orphanage as it leads to the facility built under it. Once you arrive, you are met with a pretty nasty plant called Plant 43. This plant will have 9 seedlings I had to destroy for the Not Today Buds trophy. After taking down the main plant, you can reach the Ark facility, which will be the final destination of this game. Upon entering, Umbrella's legacy pops. Inside of Ark, you are making your way towards Grace, who is at the control panels for Alpus. On your way, you encounter human enemies. Yet again, correct me if I am wrong, but I do not think we have faced any humans, obviously excluding any humanoids infected with a virus. And might I add, not just any humans you are facing, as the most unexpected part of the game happens here: Hunk. Yes, Hunk. Up until now, many fans in the franchise have debated who the strongest character was. Hunk has always been a name in those discussions, and here you are face to face in a hatchet battle. He will dodge any bullets you send his way, so keeping it melee was the move. Halfway through, he bursts a pipe, filling the room with steam, and he begins sneaking around trying to shoot you. Not very fair, might I add. Nonetheless, the fight ends as you might imagine, as Leon solidifies himself as the number 2 badass in the franchise, behind my boulder punching goat. After killing him, you can grab his hatchet, which is an upgrade on your current one, and move ahead to Grace. Here you have a little squabble with Zeno, and I promise you, they will reveal that he is Albert Wesker's clone in the next game. Because those moves are unforgettable for anyone who has played RE5. There is no way you are killing him, especially with Leon basically turning into Arthur Morgan. Your best plan was grabbing Grace and escaping. Our boy Leon is not doing too well, but him and Grace make a vow to end this once and for all, popping the final mission. Of course the two get separated, and Grace goes off to find a way for Leon to move forward. The lickers were back, which meant I was sneaking around all the time. I grabbed the key to make a path for Leon and head back to Alpus. On my way there, I found the final safe in the game. For opening this one, I got another trophy. I also found the final Mr. Raccoon. Back as Leon, I got a trophy for parrying the tongue of a licker, which sounds easier than it was, as the timing was very hard to get right. After spending a few minutes trying to get this, it popped. The final section as Leon shows that he is clearly on his last legs, as you will have episodes of coughing. As Grace, you get to play back the recording your mother left you at the start of the game. Here you find out something unexpected. Grace is nothing special, and that she was taken in by Mr. Oswell E. Spencer as as a child, as he sought to find a hope in a world he had many regrets in. At the end of this, you acquired the 2 final files in the game for the Case Closed trophy. You make your way towards Alpus, where you find Leon barely breathing. The two of you head in and Grace is presented a choice: to destroy or release Alpus. The choice here might seem obvious, but instead we go with releasing it, the password being hope. As Alpus is revealed, Zeno does not waste any time injecting it into his system. Very smart, man. This backfires immediately as Alpus is revealed to be an antidote, and this cures Zeno of all his cool powers. Victor arrives and kills the useless Wesker wannabe. He also says something that supports my prediction about him being a clone. Grace gives Leon the cure, and thank God, because this game was about to go from 100 to 0 quickly if they killed Leon. It was now time for the final boss fight against Victor. As I said, never trust those off-screen deaths. This fight is very similar to the Mr. X fight, or would it be more appropriate to say the Nemesis fight, as in the second stage it is revealed that he was actually a Nemesis. He mutates into this hulking beast, and in a fight very similar to the ending of RE3, except this time instead of a railgun, you have a madman with a hatchet. You manage to put Victor down. The game ends with Grace and Leon accepting the deaths, as there was no way out of the facility, until they are of course rescued by a unit belonging to none other than Chris Redfield. The game's ending cutscenes include Leon securing a cure for Sherry Birkin, who has been assisting him all game, as she was also suffering from Raccoon City syndrome. And more surprisingly, that Emily was still alive as Leon avoided her vitals. And with the cure, she was brought back to being just a little girl, who Grace takes in. The game ends and I pop way too many trophies at once. That was the first playthrough down, leaving 2 more to go. It was now time for the sub 4-hour speedrun with no healing or use of the blood collector. This time around I allowed myself to play on casual difficulty and the timer starts. I managed to hit Leon's section at the clinic at 55 minutes, which was behind the time needed for 3 hours, but I still felt that I would make it within 4. The part which I felt the most worried about was the underground section of the joint plugs, as I had to remember where to go as efficiently as possible. I escaped the clinic with 1 hour 30 on the clock, and I was beginning to panic as I had only 2.5 hours to get past everything. Luckily, the remaining areas were Leon parts mostly, which focused more on combat than puzzles, so I felt more comfortable. During this, I popped credit where credit is due for earning 200,000 credit as Leon. I arrived at the ARC facility with 53 minutes to go, and I was beginning to doubt myself, but I pushed through with the hardest part of the game being the Grace final section, as you only had your handgun facing lickers. Thankfully, I managed to reach the final fight with 20 minutes left. The final fight was tricky even on casual, but that was mainly due to me not being allowed to heal, but I finished the game with 15 minutes remaining. For this playthrough, I earned Never Touch the Staff, Minimalist, and Speed Demon. I am no speedrunner, but getting that in under 4 hours felt good, and it was now time for the final playthrough on Insanity. First things first, infinite ammo, RPG for Leon. This should be easy, right? Wrong. As Leon, this was probably easier than casual, as the RPG makes the game a cakewalk. But Grace? Oh boy. The girl no longer stuns with 1 Requiem shot. Sections have new enemy placements, and her arc segment, oh my god man. It required every ounce of the gamer that I had in me. No Requiem, more aggressive enemies, and only 6 bottles to aid me in getting this platinum. If you are wondering how I made it past here, run and pray. A play right out of the gamer bible. Whenever in doubt, run forward and pray you are faster than whatever is chasing you. The worst part of this tactic is the footsteps behind you. A trophy I got throughout this run was the Bloodlust trophy for collecting 5,000 microsamples of blood, which I had to farm by using these bags containing blood and reloading my save. With this CP I got from that challenge, I decided to back out to the menus where I purchased all models and concept art for the Curator and the Model Mania trophies. I done this now as I wanted the final trophy to pop as I beat the game. Speaking of which, I reached the end of the game where 2 shots from the RPG were enough to put Victor down, completing this final run. Here I got the Remarkable Agent trophy. And finally, Requiem. I don't see this lightly, as I have played every mainline and most side Resident Evil games. This might be the best one yet. It manages to capture in a bottle exactly what you imagine Resident Evil to be. Scary, a little over the top, but most importantly fun. It ties up the entire story the franchise has been building for decades and sets up the story for who knows how many more installments. Also, Grace became one of my favourite characters in the franchise in just 1 game. As for the Platinum itself, it was one of the most rewarding ones that I've ever done. Anyways, thank you for watching, and if you made it this far, be sure to comment your thoughts on this game, leave a like and subscribe. See ya.